Lisa had Megan Thee Stallion, Tyla, Doja Cat, Future, and Rosalia on her album and still managed to flop horribly, especially in the US. This album was meant to launch her career successfully into the Western US market, but even with all those features, it barely made an impact. When she released her album, only 3 of her songs debuted onto Spotify Global, which is embarrassingly low, especially when you compare her to Jennie, who managed to debut 10 of her songs onto Spotify Global. To make matters worse, Lisa's album only sold 47,000 units in the US in the first week, which is pathetically low. Naeon managed to debut higher with less star power. Even Rose debuted higher with a boring-ass album. Lisa music has no longevity. Despite her high debut streaming numbers, it seems like people completely forget about her music as soon as it's released. After the release of her album, her streams plummeted drastically on Spotify, with over 12 million streams lost by the second day. For context, Jennie only lost 6 million streams on her second day. When you compare both albums side by side, the difference is clear. People stopped caring about Lisa's album almost immediately. On top of all that, her album is getting nothing but negative reviews and valid criticism, with the most consistent complaint being its lack of depth and substance.
That's why I think people are disappointed with Lisa's album, because they listen to the whole track list, but they're left wondering, who is Lisa? And this is actually a very big shame, because I found that in that Light of the Sky documentary about Blackpink on Netflix, out of all the girls, I found that Lisa had one of the most interesting stories, and she does have such a rich and delicious and colorful background to her, but this is not showcased through her album. The fact that she was YG Entertainment's first non-Korean person to debut, that's huge. And that also came with its obstacles, and I would have loved to hear, I would have loved to have heard that through this album, but we did not.
Lisa's 5 alter ego concept didn't really fall short to me because I felt like it lacked authenticity. That's not the problem, because when you step into an alter ego, that's not really you anyway. That's like a different persona, so that's fine. It's more so the fact that I felt like when she was describing the alter ego, she couldn't commit to it because she didn't really understand how to. She didn't understand how to make that distinction in a way that is artful in the music, especially. When I listen to the album, it sounds like it's all coming from the same person. And then I feel like it was kind of lazy to kind of say, well, these are the alter egos, by leaving off the features of a couple songs, putting them at the bottom of the album, and then saying, well, these are the alter egos. I don't feel like that's effective. And I just feel like that showed a lack of connection with your work, your art. And that showed even when she did like the Hot Ones interview, like he was asking her questions, specific questions about her music, and she really couldn't speak to it. And that's not necessarily to get at her or anything, but I feel like even with the language barrier, even if English isn't your first language, if you're truly connected to your art, it will come across. And I felt like when I watched Jennie's interview, it definitely did.
I've listened to all of the Blackpink members' albums. While listening to Jennie's, Rose, and Jisoo's albums, they all have a story to tell, and that's what Lisa's missing. Think of it this way: if it's someone's first time meeting you, you would obviously want them to know more of you, and you will show up in a way where people can understand you, your authentic self, without looking performative. If you get what I mean, you will be attracting so many people and wanting to know your story. And with Lisa's album, it feels very surface level in a way. He's only showing who she is on the outside. But what is in it for us to follow you on your solo journey? I'm not saying this to bash on Lisa. I just think that she has a lot of potential to improve and grow. I believe her and her team need to go back on the drawing board and really think about what they want to put out for her. Because for me personally, I think that she needs to like niche down within herself even more without losing her sense of self. Hypothetically speaking, if I were ever to be on her team, I will ask her, what is something in your life that no one knows that you would like to share? I mentioned before, everything on her album is very surface level, and I don't really connect with her compared to the other girls.
I figured out why Lisa's album lacks any real depth or substance. It's because she's trying to imitate Rihanna instead of being herself. I recently came across this interview of Lisa, and they asked her who is one artist that inspires her the most, and look at what she said.
Who's the one artist that's inspired you the most?
I would say Rihanna. Her swag, her style, her music, her stage performance.
What's your all-time favorite Rihanna performance?
Bitch better have my money, bitch better have my money.
This makes sense why Thunder sounds like a cheap Rihanna reject from the Rated R era, and the fact that Lisa has a track called Bad Girl on her album only highlights her desperate attempt to imitate Rihanna's iconic, rebellious persona. Lisa isn't owning a unique identity, she's simply trying to recreate Rihanna's swagger and style, desperately forcing a bad girl image that doesn't align with who she is. This explains why her album feels so inauthentic. It's not a reflection of Lisa, but rather a forced attempt to mimic another artist's persona. When you don't know who you are musically, inspiration quickly devolves into imitation. In all her interviews, including this one, she talks in this annoying-ass cute girl baby voice, but yet in her music, she's trying to portray this bad girl image. She's a walking contradiction. Lisa's obsession with Rihanna goes beyond admiration. She's trying to embody a character that she's not, and hide it behind multiple corny-ass alter egos. This is why her music feels hollow and lacks depth. She's so disconnected from her own identity that she's just regurgitating what she thinks is cool, rather than crafting something original. Her obsession with Rihanna probably explains why she likes Tyla.